Hello, MANSCAPED. Hello, MANSCAPED. Did you say there's a code you can use for 20% off? BSR Sports 20, link in bio. Perfect. Guys, if you don't use it, you're daft. You're very, very daft.
100%.
So,
Need to get your hands on this.
You really do. It's honestly,
thank you.
Like, the leading market in men's grooming. Like, you can't go wrong with something.
If you're
like
not
this.
leaving yourself happy, you're not leaving the ladies happy. That's
5-star reviews. Go for it. You won't be disappointed.
You must get this package alone just for the newspaper. Like, the newspaper just
for the newspaper alone.
It's going up on my wall.
It does mean no mess. Like, I don't think they've missed out anything. No mess, no noise, in the dark, good smell, good tone, grip, size. Oh my. Boxer's t-shirt.
Can it go wrong?
If this is not the full package, what is?
I might leave the podcast and just go use this.
If you want £20 off, 20%, £20 off. Link is in the bio. It's just very daft if you didn't do it. If you're not going to do it.
Hello and welcome to the BSR Sports Friday Night Football Podcast. From the fans, for the fans. My name is Robbie Hanratty.
I'm Liam Murphy.
And I'm Blair McFarlane.
We've got a bumper podcast for you tonight with lots of great talking points to be discussed. Are you excited, boys?
Oh, always,
mate. As always.
So we'll start in Scotland. A lot has happened in Scottish football this past week, from Rangers winning the Scottish Premiership, stopping Celtic's 10 in a row hopes, Aberdeen parting ways with their manager after 8 years, Celtic trying to distance themselves online from the old firm, and we've got the ex-Scotland manager Craig Levein on Sports Sound calling for the First Minister to resign. What madness!
When's it stopping Scotland? Like, it's all madness right now going on with the whole Rangers thing and this whole Celtic tweet last night. It's just absolute shambles in Glasgow, and we'll get on to the whole story in a moment, but we'll just have to start off by saying congratulations on 55 to Rangers.
Yeah, definitely. Congrats to Rangers. We're the winners this year, but as Liam says, it's just bonkers right now in so many ways in football and politics in general. And now the two seem to be kind of coming together, and it is kind of entertaining to stand by and watch everything fall apart, but it's probably not good for the country.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll start with Celtic failing to beat Dundee United on Sunday lunchtime, leading to the celebrations of Rangers winning the Scottish Premiership for the first time in over 10 years. And that's with 6 games to play. So the record this season, 28 wins, 4 draws and 0 losses. Firstly, Liam, how would you assess Rangers this season?
This season, they've been pretty much untouchable. I say pretty much because they lost in the Cup, obviously, to St Mirren. So you can't say like they've been... fair play to them for what they've done in the league. It's been absolutely unreal. And I'm happy to see Gerrard win the league and finally see him lift a league trophy as well. But for Rangers, like nearly every player in the pitch has been almost like... every player's had at least a good game every single time. You've never seen like a player that's had like a bad game, and it's just like such a good united squad with like the fullbacks. I've mentioned the fullbacks a lot. I'm a big fan of the way Rangers play with their fullbacks in Tavernier and Barisic, and obviously recently Morelos has come into some form. People would argue that maybe Ryan Kent has been one of their players of the season. I would probably argue the likes of Tavernier, but obviously you've got the solid centre backs as well, Goldson and. Don't quote me on who else they play centre back, and obviously the OAP in goal and Alan McGregor. He made an amazing save tonight against Slavia Prague, and just shows what he's very capable of. But Rangers have been worthy winners. They've been helped as well by the fact that Celtic have had their problems, but Rangers are obviously going to take full advantage, and they've done what they've done, and they've stopped 10 in a row. So Gerrard will be seen as an icon at Ibrox now.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel that will automatically create speculation like this week with Klopp not doing well at Liverpool. I know you're a Liverpool fan. Gerrard to Liverpool is 1 league title what he's done at Rangers enough to put him in the frame for potential Liverpool job?
Gerrard said it himself. It's too premature to even be discussing him going to Liverpool at the moment, because Klopp said himself he wants to see out his 3 years at Liverpool, and I'm pretty sure 90% of Liverpool fans like to see that as well. The 10% who want him gone, I really worry why they're Liverpool fans, because how can Liverpool fans genuinely want Klopp out after what he's done for us? I think the whole Gerrard thing, yes, he will become a Liverpool manager eventually. I think it's inevitable that he will become a Liverpool manager eventually, whether it be end of this season. I very, very much doubt that. I very much see him seeing out his contract at Rangers, much like Klopp will at Liverpool. And what I don't want to see with Gerrard is to see him move to like a smaller Premier League club, because when you move to Rangers, you have that winning mentality to win the league. And if he moves to someone like Newcastle or Wolves, for example, that will just go out the window, because you're not going to be winning the league with Newcastle and Wolves. I know the difference between Rangers and Liverpool is massive in terms of quality, but it's the style of play as well, and it's the mentality that both teams have. Rangers have a mentality to be competing for the league every single season, and Liverpool right now will be having the mentality to compete for the league every single season. So I do think it will happen eventually, but like you said, it's far too premature to say that he will become or should become Liverpool manager.
What about you, Luke? Have you got anything to say?
Yeah, I agree with what Liam's saying. First of all, well, Rangers this year, like, were the winners, and 4 draws in the league all season is unbelievable. And they have in some ways just been untouchable in the league, and I think it's just going to be interesting to see going forward kind of how both them and Celtic do progress, and whether Rangers get better, whether Celtic improve with their recruiting, or if the team does get worse, because there's so many rumours obviously of a lot of Rangers players potentially moving on, the likes of Morelos, Kent, and they've all come into form probably the last kind of few games or so, and I think that could well be because they're wanting to sort of put themselves in the shop window. But I think it's good. I think that's how you do it. If you've stayed at Rangers for an extra season, and at least in Morelos' case, maybe when he didn't want to, at least turn up and show other clubs like what you can do. So it's just going to be interesting. I've spoke before. I don't see. We always talk about teams wanting to or having a sort of overhaul, and it never seems to be more than 3-4 players at the max. So I'd just be interested to see how many players actually do leave, if it's just going to be Morelos, Kent, and maybe one more. But with Gerrard, I think what Liam said is spot on. I think it's too soon. Obviously, I'm not a Liverpool fan, but I can't see how Liverpool fans want rid of Klopp at this stage. It's way too early. It's half a season of poor results, basically. That's it. And they're still in the Champions League. They're still in the running to get top 4 in the league as well. So it's not. It's obviously not what Liverpool wanted, and they've dramatically fallen off the form. But I think Liverpool will probably be all right if they just kind of get a few of their players back from injury. But I think with Gerrard, though, I don't want to see him going to another club. I would like it to be straight from Rangers to Liverpool. Obviously it is such a massive jump up, and I know you can't necessarily compare the two, but Rodgers, and obviously he was at Liverpool before, but he was at Celtic, did really well, and went to Leicester, and Leicester are now one of the probably best teams in the country. So I don't think just because it's Scottish football it can't translate in any way to English football. So I think Gerrard, I hope he does go straight to Liverpool. I don't see any reason why not, but yeah, that's what I think of Rangers, to be honest, at the moment. Yeah,
I totally agree, Luke. I think that's a perfect example. The one I would use also with Brendan Rodgers, and even as an Aberdeen fan, Rangers have been a breath of fresh air to watch this season, domestically and in Europe. Obviously, into the last 16 in the Europa League. It's been a long time since a Scottish club has done that. Like Celtic usually have represented Scotland the last few years, but failed at the group stages the last 32. So with Rangers 1-1 in the first leg tonight against Slavia Prague, they'll fancy themselves with the chances to get into the last 8. Do you think so, Liam?
It will be tough because Slavia Prague also remember what they've done against Leicester, and everyone thought Leicester would be the one to get to the latter stages, and I think Leicester going out just proves that Rodgers isn't the best in Europe. But with Rangers' case, why not? They've got the advantage going into the second leg. I'm pretty sure have they got. I'm not sure if they've got a game at the weekend or not.
Don't think they do.
So it's a game being postponed, or they don't have a game at all.
They don't have Aberdeen don't have a game. I don't think there's some games. It's supposed to be Scottish Cup weekend, and the Scottish Cup is not going ahead. So
yeah, so
weekend.
Rangers will have a full week to get their team prepared for the second leg, and they have obviously nearly all. I think they have all their team available at the moment, despite some. I don't know if Tavernier's back to full fitness yet for Rangers, but obviously if he's back anytime soon, it will be a big boost. But I think Rangers. I don't think Rangers should be saying they should progress, because how far they've come has already been relatively impressive. But with the position they put themselves in, they must be thinking this is a golden opportunity to reach the quarterfinals of the Europa League. And they will be licking their lips at the fact that they have got the advantage going into Ibrox.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think they'll be able to take a lot of faith from the goals they scored against Antwerp in the last leg, because they probably wasn't favourites for that. And to score so many goals, I think it was 9 goals in total between the 2 legs, was just staggering, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously they scored 1 goal only tonight, but like we said, Slavia Prague are a dangerous side, and they managed to wield the storm with Slavia Prague. And I know both teams had some great chances. We obviously saw McGregor's heroics late on in the game with a fantastic save. But an away goal for them is absolutely crucial, and from an unlikely source as well.
So we'll go back onto what happened at the weekend in Rangers lifting the trophy. So we all seen the fans and players celebrate at full time of a Celtic game, celebrate the title outside Ibrox. What's your thoughts? Should have the fans and players acted that way? I'll go to you first, Luke.
No, I don't think they should. I think, I was talking to Liam there off camera, and we're sort of saying that I don't think any club is worse than anyone else. So before I say what I'm going to say, is this is not really having a dig at Rangers. I mean, it is in some ways, but not. I don't think any other club would act differently if they were winning their 55th league title. But I don't think it's all right. I don't where everyone's making sacrifices and with social distancing and try to get the country back into a state that we can open up businesses and resume normal life hopefully as soon as possible. So to do that is terrible. And I seen images yesterday of them cleaning the entire. I think George Square they had massive numbers of cleaning teams out, basically trying to disinfect the area. So I don't think it's okay. I don't condone it. But I mean, we all seen what Celtic did earlier in the season as well at times. So I think they're both as bad as each other. It's not acceptable. But I can understand it. It's your 55th league title. Everyone's buzzing. So I obviously know why they've done it.
Yeah, I said the exact same on social media at the weekend. I think as a football fan, you live for these moments. And even though I acknowledge that we're in a public health crisis and fans went behind the advice of the government, we all, or not everyone, but so many people, naturally is to go out and celebrate. So I do see why they did, but I also am not condemning it. And I'll let Liam say his point of view.
I can't condone it one bit, obviously, the way you say it, because when Liverpool done it back in the summer of 2020, when we won the league, we were just as the people of Liverpool were just as culpable as what Rangers done. They packed outside Anfield and they went absolutely berserk. And we mentioned this, yes, Liverpool won their first title in 30 years, so they're obviously going to go mental. But you need to learn. People need to understand that these are extreme circumstances, and I understand the Rangers fans' passions. They've just stopped 10 in a row. They've won their first league in 9-10 years, and they've won 55. So obviously, the expectation from the government and the police would have been that they're going to go wild, and they did go wild. And I don't condone what they've done, but you have to just look at it and say, if Celtic won 10 in a row, they would have been just as wild, or they would have been even more wild. So it is great to see, but it's also bad to see. It's good to see because you want to see the fans get excited and get together again, but also it is the middle of a pandemic and it needs to be respect to them. But as a whole, all clubs are culpable, likes of Celtic and Rangers, and back then when it was Liverpool as well. If Celtic were to win the Scottish Cup, for example, I'm pretty sure they'd go mad. If Scotland by some wicked miracle win the Euros, then I'm pretty sure the streets of George Square and all of Glasgow and Edinburgh will be going wild as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think what annoyed a lot of people, which I've seen the social media and everything, was that the First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, did send out a plea to Rangers to tell their fans to go home and to not go out. But I think they tweeted 50 odd times in the space of like a day without acknowledging her call. So I do think, in my view, Rangers could have done more to stop it, but fans, even if they were told not to do it, probably would do it anyway. And the players going to like the fences with the beers and all that, I think it's just, as a footballer, a lot of these players, Jermaine Defoe, for example, his first title in his 35 years old in his first title. So guys like that, they're just so buzzing. Sometimes the rules of the pandemic probably go out the window. And I'm not trying to make excuses, but I do see how some of these things happen. But then we do go on to what could have the police done differently. They escorted the fans from Ibrox to George Square. And then, as you alluded to, we all seen what the mess was left at George Square. So
yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
not really sure.
Yeah,
people need to. Sorry, on you.
I think it is a difficult situation, like we mentioned. People do need to maybe see the other side of what's going on at the moment. But like we all mentioned, it's hard to do that when you've just won your first league title. You're going from rags to riches with Rangers. Obviously, they had their whole liquidation, and they got brought down, and they got brought down from the gutter and the top of the world right now. So it's hard to tell them to stay at home, because the likelihood is they're not going to do it.
Yeah, we all know what how passionate football fans are, and Rangers fans, some of the most passionate fans in the world, and known for that. So yeah, exactly how it is. And as you say, to end the Rangers chat, congratulations to Rangers, and also we'll have to see what happens. Who wins the Scottish Cup? If we're still in lockdown, if we see similar scenes, and what the government will do about it. But on the topic of Scottish football, obviously, I'm an Aberdeen fan. My club, Aberdeen, had a managerial departure on Monday. So Derek McInnes, after 8 years in charge at Aberdeen, was left by mutual consent, but possibly sacked by Chairman Dave Cormack. What was your thoughts, Liam, when you heard the news of that?
I'm not too knowledgeable in Aberdeen, I can't lie, but I would say it's been, from what you've told me, it's been writing on the wall for Derek McInnes, and it was only a matter of time before he got the chop. And where are Aberdeen currently in the league? Where are they currently?
Fourth in the league.
So
in the league. Yeah, so it's not terrible, but I think before I let you speak, I think the problem Aberdeen fans have had, it's not the league position as such, it's more the style of football.
Yeah, it's just
kind of let them down.
It's just been boring, yeah. And I know it's hard. Obviously, you mentioned it's not about the league position, but it's hard for managers of Aberdeen and all these like teams that finished third and fourth, because they can't compete financially with Celtic and Rangers. And if when Aberdeen got second when Rangers went in the division, that would obviously be seen as a massive boost for them. But now it's Aberdeen can't compete, and I think it might be a obviously it was said that McInnes left, but at a hierarchy level, they probably thought like bring some fresh meat in, and maybe we can start challenging for that second spot again, and maybe even win a trophy if we really want to compete again. And it will be tough. Obviously, you say he's been in charge for 8 years now, so it will take a few seasons for them to settle. But the Aberdeen hierarchy board have got to make the right appointment and soon, and not bring someone like Neil Lennon in, for example.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to go on to soon. But speaking of Aberdeen hierarchy, I felt that when Chairman Dave Cormack came in from Atlanta in 2018, I think it was, ever since he's been going on about how he wanted to make Aberdeen a top 100 European club. He wanted to install an attacking philosophy and all that around the club. everything he said about his philosophy wasn't matching up on the pitch. So it kind of was written in the stars that McInnes wouldn't be that man to implement that. But we have to credit him for he got the training ground to Aberdeen, Coymac Park in 2019. Before that, Aberdeen were training down at the beach as such, or on grassy pitches. And for a professional club, third biggest in Scotland, they really should have had a training ground. So it's good that they've got up with that. And as you say, they got 4 second place finishes, all from Rangers without the league. And as a lot of Aberdeen fans say, there was a time when Hearts were out the league, Hibs were out the league. But I guess that's not the point. They still got second place, and it's still an achievement. And as an Aberdeen fan myself, I feel Derek McInnes in his first season, he delivered a trophy, and that's what a manager, you don't know as football fans, if a manager delivers a trophy in the first season, they'll be liked by the support. And he done that, but now that was 7 years ago, and he never failed to follow up on that with like 4 or 5 cup finals since. And apart from the 2017 cup final, lost the last minute goal to Celtic. Other than that, they didn't really show much fight in these games. So, as you say, Liam, I think fresh blood is exactly what Aberdeen need. So, Luke, I know you don't know much about Scottish football, but from the outside, is there anyone you think would be a good fit for the Aberdeen role?
Before I talk about that, sorry, could you just talk to me a bit about the sort of style of play? Because I find that quite interesting, because obviously you hear about fans at other clubs, like my club, for example, Man United, sometimes not happy with the way that a team has played, not necessarily the results, but I can't remember a time that a manager has actually been sacked because of the way they're playing when they are still getting results on the field. I mean, I know maybe it's not quite the season you'd expect, but if you're 4th in the league, that obviously means it's not being a disaster in terms of results. Is that fair to say? So, like, how is it compared to like previous seasons? Has he played better football before?
What I would say is under McInnes, and I've been vocal since that 2017 Cup final I mentioned to Celtic when we came so close. Ever since for about 3-4 seasons when he first arrived, we had guys like Adam Mooney, Johnny Hayes, Niall McGinn, guys, fast wingers who get the ball in the box, be producing goals. And even if we didn't produce a lot of goals, we'd win 1-0 and knew how to do that. This season especially, we're 4th place probably because the rest of the league's so poor, not because I think we've had 10 draws this season, and I think about 6 or 7 have been 0-0, and I think that's been the big problem. We scored 1 goal in 10 games. That's probably what's led to his sacking.
Yeah, okay.
He got rid of four attackers in January. So he obviously identified that attackers was a problem. Rid of 4 attackers in January, signed 3 new ones, and they're not scoring, and they don't seem looking like they're going to score. So what's got to be interesting is they've got 2 weeks until the next game against Dundee United. If what they can do differently, if we'll see the same with these players not going to score, or in my opinion, it's actually a good squad they've got on paper. They're just not getting the best out of it. So maybe they've installed like the youth coach, Neil Simpson, Paul Sheeran, and Barry Robson, and maybe they can just let the shackles off a bit and let these players play again, because they're certainly not bad players, but from an Aberdeen point of view, McInnes also hasn't left Aberdeen in a good state for going on to next season. They've got about 10 players out of contract, which is about half the first team, and for a club like Aberdeen, they'd never usually let so much players run down, so I feel like that's also an issue, but that could also be behind the scenes. Have they been seeing this departure coming and not wanting to let McInnes recruit these players? I don't know.
Yeah. I think another topic of like who would be next in, like even though Liam's dismissed them already, like Neil Lennon is the only name that I can think of. I can't say I'm very well educated on like young and upcoming Scottish managers, but obviously he was there with he was manager of Hibs, wasn't he? After his first spell at Celtic. So like he has managed, like he's got a fair amount of experience in Scottish football. Like what are you completely against the idea of Neil Lennon coming
in? As an Aberdeen fan, Neil Lennon, I don't feel Neil Lennon would be a really bad appointment in terms of, he's managed Celtic and Hibs, but in terms of, as a chairman, you want your first appointment to aspire the fans sell season tickets. I don't think Neil Lennon would do that. Aberdeen fans don't like Neil Lennon overall, so I think a left field option, like Aberdeen fans, left field option I keep on seeing mentioned is Enzo Maresca. Man City head of youth development. I think he's also in the frame for the Celtic job. Whether or not you want to leave Man City to go to the Scottish Premiership, I don't know. But that sort of options do excite me more than a Neil Lennon or a like St Mirren manager Jim Goodwin. He's a young upcoming manager. Probably would be good, but I think someone that doesn't know the league, doesn't have a affiliation with the old firm, might be better to just say, let's have a go. We've got nothing to lose. We might win a cup. We might get second place. I don't expect Aberdeen to win the league, Say that now, that'd be deluded. I just expect to see good performances and a bit of excitement, which just wasn't getting.
Yeah, I think like that. I don't know who this Man City person is, but that like, again is a neutral with Scottish football. Like, that does sound a lot more exciting. So someone who is just bringing sort of new ideas to Scottish football. I think that's good for Scottish football in general. So I think something like that, yeah, someone like you said who's not got any affiliations, who's a bit of a sort of outsider, for lack of a better word, to bring something that we might not already have in Scottish football would probably be the best thing for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Especially like Rangers taking a chance on Steven Gerrard. Obviously, this is just Rangers' first trophy under Steven Gerrard, and he's been there 3 years. So I feel like Aberdeen fans, I'll admit, can be impatient, but we'd have to give a manager, especially if he's a young manager who doesn't know the league, a bit of time to settle in. And then I guess even like today, Slaven Bilic's assistant has put his name in the frame for the Aberdeen job. And then there's people like Paul Lambert, Eddie Howe's being mentioned, Frank Lampard. I know that them two probably unrealistic, but just never know what ambitions of the club or these guys could be. And it's quite exciting for an Aberdeen fan to think, who is next?
Eddie Howe would be a good one. I like Eddie Howe.
Eddie Howe would be a good statement, yeah.
Yeah, no one seems to rate Eddie Howe because, again, you just kind of remember him for how Bournemouth was at the end. But I think he done great things with them. I think he brought them up a good few of the leagues, and I don't know how realistic that is. I don't know how much money Eddie Howe would want. That might be more like down the Celtic route, potentially someone they'd be going after. But a young manager, I think, a young English manager, I think that'd be exciting.
Definitely. What do you think, Liam?
Eddie Howe would definitely be a real statement from Aberdeen to try and close that gap on the top two. But the one problem that Aberdeen might have is wages. You mentioned Frank Lampard. I would imagine he would have been on a massive wage at Chelsea. And he understands he probably would have to take a wage cut wherever he goes. But he's not going to take he's not going to go to Aberdeen, and he's probably going to get him near an 80% wage drop or something like that. Yeah. So I think it's unrealistic to look at these kind of names like Frank Lampard and Eddie Howe because they're more likely to be interested in the Celtic job. And I'd imagine Eddie Howe would definitely be. I think Eddie Howe probably still is one of the favourites for the Celtic job. And we talked about this loads of times about Eddie Howe in the podcast, but I feel like Aberdeen need to just make the correct appointment, maybe not their best appointment, but a safe appointment because they need to steady the ship before they can push forward. You mentioned Jim Goodwin, so he did, and obviously he's had a decent run with St Mirren this season. Got to the cup semi-final, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
And obviously that's
lost 1-0 to Livingston. So yeah,
that's a big deal at St Mirren, and I feel like he could be. I feel like he could be a good appointment for the future, and to give if he's given a few seasons at Aberdeen, I think he will improve them.
Yeah. As you say, we do need to get the right, I guess, appointment. Like I was thinking that they need a strong character who can command respect in the dressing room and get fans on side and handle the media, because I think a lot of people forget how. I know I'm not living in the 80s. Aberdeen's still Scotland's third biggest club. There's a lot of expectation. So whoever comes in there has got to realise that there's big boots to follow in the Guinness. And it's never, I hate to say it because I do think we can get better and improve, but it isn't always greener on the other side as well. So you just never know what could come in the next few seasons. But hopefully it's a lot of positivity for Aberdeen. So we'll get on to your favourite now. Well, speak about some English football.
Lovely.
First of all, I would like to speak about Manchester United getting the better of the City rivals last weekend. Luke, you're a Man United fan. You predicted on the podcast last week United to win. What was your thoughts on that game?
Yeah, brilliant. Anytime they win the Manchester derby or really any derby, and I'm obviously buzzing. It's nice, especially when Man U are going through a sort of rough patch, just to kind of remind people that they are a good team, despite what people say. Man U are a good team. Our problem is just consistency and continuing to get good results, and we've not managed to do it. By the way, we've drawn tonight against Milan, but I think Man U can be a dangerous side. It is just sort of, I think it's sometimes momentum. Like as soon as they have one bad result, loads and loads of bad results seem to follow. And I thought they were worthy winners against City, though. I thought they were the better team. For obviously City dominated it in spells, but I think Man U were in control for large amounts. Always looking dangerous on the counter, and I think they were worthy winners.
Yeah, I've been a big critic of Anthony Martial this season. Like, I don't think he's been great up top, but I thought that was one of his man of the match. Do you think the same? He proved the doubters wrong a bit in that game.
Yeah, I thought he was good. I don't know about man of the match because, you know, from what I've seen of him, like really good hold up play and stuff. He missed a massive chance to make it 3-0 and could have just ended the game then and there. But I don't. The thing is, I think I'm a bit sick of talking about his hold up play because there was times last year where that's all he was doing and people were criticising him, and I'd sort of be like, no, you need to see this bit that he's doing, the hold up plays, that it's more than just scoring goals, and people were like, no, you're talking nonsense. And then sure enough, this season he has just been shocking. So like, I want more than that. I want more than obviously linking the play together. I want goals from him, and his finishing's just not what it should be. Like, he was one of the most clinical players, if not the most clinical player at the club, and I don't know what's happened to him. I honestly love him. I really want it to work out. I just don't know. Like, the more games I see like this where he is missing chances, I understand they got man of the match, but you'll probably both know that the chance I'm talking about when he sort of one-on-one with Edison and just hits it straight at him. I just don't think, if you're Man United's number 9, you need to be finishing these chances. And the more you see like Erling Haaland at Dortmund being linked with every big club in Europe, Man U need to be going for someone like him, unless Martial goes and scores 20 goals between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening with Martial. And as you say, when you're playing for the club, arguably the biggest club in the world, Manchester United, so much expectation, you can't be missing these chances, because Man United obviously had so many 0-0s and draws in these big games. Finally beating City, you think this could really like change the season. You think, oh, maybe City can start dropping points from there. But then what did City do? They bounced back with emphatic 5-2 win over Southampton on Wednesday night. And then Man United will obviously have dropped points against Palace, Sheffield United, West Brom, you name it. I think it's just frustrating.
Yeah, obviously, I need to see how Man U do in the league, because I was talking about Milan tonight. It's a draw against a good European team. It's not necessarily the end of the world, but yeah, like Man U could just go and lose their next league game. Like, it wouldn't be anything we've not seen before. On the topic of Martial as well, I think Martial is a good player. I think it's definitely like consistency. So it reminds me of like Louis Saha back in the day, another like sort of exciting French striker on his day, explosive, really fun to watch. But I just don't know if you can rely on him week in, week out. So I think it's a position now that Man U need to look to strengthen. And it pains me to say that, because all the criticism seems to be coming true. And like Mourinho obviously didn't rate him, and all of us fans were saying, why is he not playing Martial? Like, why is he putting Martial out on the wing? And I don't necessarily want us to sell Martial. He can still have a part to play in this team. You know, he can play in the wing, obviously, and Rashford's not always fit. He's injured again just now. So he could still have a part to play. But I think going forward, Man U definitely need to invest in a new striker.
On the topic of strikers, you see the comments of Edison Cavani's father saying that he was unhappy in Manchester. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm not massively bothered. I think like understand. I'll always compliment strikers when they put in a shift, and that's what I was talking about with Martial last season and Cavani this year as well. It's like everyone's sort of been loving him because he puts in a shift, he works hard. But it's like I want more than that from a striker. I want 20, 30 goals from the main centre forward in the team. And there was a point where Cavani was starting for us for quite a few games, and now he's kind of having fitness issues. But so it's not a major loss. I think having a player like that in the dressing room and that sort of winning mentality, it can be huge. But the fact that his father is saying that he's not happy, like if he's not happy in Manchester, then he's not going to be happy on the pitch, and he's not going to be contributing the way the Man United fans are looking for their number 7 to contribute. So yeah, I'm not massively fussed. He can go as far as I'm concerned. It opens up a space for someone else.
They'll just have to make Haaland the top signing in the summer and make him number 7 then.
Yeah, and exactly.
Win the league next season.
Put Greenwood there. Or sign Sancho and put Greenwood up top. But there is options. Like we've got obviously Greenwood, Martial, Rashford. I don't think Rashford is going to progress as an out and out striker. I think he is best in the wing. Greenwood, I think in a few seasons maybe, but right now I don't think. I don't know. I'm contradicting myself, but maybe in terms of developing a young player, if you have someone like Greenwood who you think is a generational talent, whether he is or not, but if that's what you think as Man United, then maybe you need to play him every week at striker. Maybe that's just what you've got to do, because if we do go and sign Haaland, then what is going to happen to Greenwood? Are we going to loan him out? Are we going to keep playing him on the wing? Like how that is going to start his development? I don't know. But listen, if Haaland comes along and you can afford him and he wants to come to Man United, you'd be insane not to do it. They should have got him when he went to Dortmund in the first place. I think they just refused to have a release clause in there or something. But no, Haaland would be massive for the club.
Yeah, that's madness looking back. And speak about players like Martial, they're good at holding the ball after a work rate. Me, you, and Liam could do that, but if you're not putting the ball in the net, that's what you get paid for. So moving on from speaking about Manchester United, we all know, Liam, you're a big Liverpool fan of last season's champions. You haven't won at home in the league this year. What has went wrong with another 1-0 loss to relegation strugglers Fulham last weekend?
We've been found out, is the simple answer now. We've not changed our system in God knows how long, and teams have recognised how to beat us now. Try and get us on a mistake or a break, score 1 goal, sit back for the rest of the game and hope for the best. And Liverpool don't attack anymore. And I think that's down to the fact that we barely have any of our first choice, or we don't have any of our first choice centre-backs, but you can't look at that as an excuse anymore because it's been going on for a while now. You have to start looking at higher levels, like the front line have been off for a while. Obviously, everyone will have their problems with Firmino and Mane. The only one that can really go out with, even Salah had a terrible game against Fulham, but even he needs to get some criticism as well. There's not a single player in that pitch that was okay, because we were terrible against Fulham. Just everything was wrong about the game from minute one. The lineup was wrong, and it is when the substitutions were wrong as well. And you have to blame the manager for this one, but also the players as well. That team should still be enough to beat a Fulham side that are in the relegation zone. But as Liverpool proven in Anfield this season, we're just not with it. And it surprises me really, because I watched Liverpool on Wednesday night against RB Leipzig, and we were a completely different side. That's one of the most professional performances I've seen from us this season. And I go back to this point about our centre-backs. We actually played with 2 centre-backs that game as well. And that means you can move Fabinho back into midfield. And so that allowed for Fabinho to do what he does best. It doesn't look like he does a lot, but trust me, what he does in that midfield is so crucial for the likes of those Thiago and Wijnaldum that played. And with Liverpool's form in the league, top 4 seems a long shot now because of what's going on. And our best route into the Champions League will be through winning it this season. And you never know with football, and you genuinely don't know with Liverpool. Liverpool could genuinely go on and win the Champions League by some miracle. It genuinely would not surprise me if Liverpool went and got the 7th Champions League trophy this season. And for the league form, it's all about confidence at this point, because the likes of Chelsea and Everton and who else is in the top 4? West Ham. They're all better sides than us in the league this season, and I mentioned this earlier, but see the people who want Klopp sacked, I'm just like, he's peace, man. Like, are you actually real Liverpool fans at this point? Because what Klopp has done for this club is phenomenal, and every manager has a wee blip in the season. It's not. You have to look at the factors that Klopp is suffering from. Like, look at these injuries. Look at the player form. The only players that could probably come out of the season with any form of dignity is Salah and Trent Alexander-Arnold. And even then, you're looking at you're scraping at the barrel for the likes of Andy Robertson. We talk about injuries. Since Firmino just got his knee injury last week, our only two players that haven't picked up injuries this season are Robertson and Curtis Jones. Every other player has been injured or ill at some point this season. That is mental. And it's crazy to think that we were never going to win. As soon as Van Dijk got injured, you thought we aren't going to win the league. And once Gomez got injured, you thought, right, let's just focus on top 4 and we go again next season. Now it just seems like, just don't make an embarrassment of yourselves. I couldn't care if we qualify for Europa League or just miss out on Europe completely, because whatever happens at Liverpool, I still trust that we will have the funds available to get back to the top 4. And I don't think a lot of players will be put off that we won't be in Europe, might not be in Europe next season, because the stature of Liverpool is huge. I'll remember back to when United finished 5th or 6th and they got Europa League, and then Mourinho came in. But yet when Mourinho came in, he managed to get the likes of Pogba. Obviously, Pogba he grew up at Man United, but he was already at Juventus at the time. And you would say, like, why didn't he just stay for Champions League football? And if that's going to be the case with Jurgen Klopp at Liverpool, if players want to work under Jurgen Klopp, that won't turn off the likes of Mbappe. I know I'm scraping.
You have the money for that, though, Liam. Do you think?
We do. I think we do have the money. I think we do. And for this, the only way I see us signing Mbappe is if one of Salah or Mane leave. And it wouldn't surprise me if one of them did leave in the summer, because Mane is now 28, 29, and I think Salah is like 27, 28. So we're going to have to refresh it at some point, because once one of them loses their pace, that's it. Like, they rely so much on pace. And based on this season, I would want Mane to depart, because he hasn't had the best of seasons, but we all know what these people are capable of. And I think at this point with Liverpool, it's a confidence thing in the league. It's like a hoodoo that's hanging on the back. As soon as we win a game at Anfield, we'll go on a run. I can tell you, because it's just a hoodoo on the back of the Liverpool players right now. Because I can't remember the first time we lost. It was at Burnley. We lost our first Anfield game this season, and then from that point on, it was just loss. As soon as Liverpool get that victory, we'll go back on that run, and I have confidence that we will make a strong. If we play like we did against Leipzig on Wednesday night, and we play like that against Wolves on Monday night coming up, then there's no reason why to rule us out of a top 4 race. But at this point, Chelsea have that new manager bounce, so you expect them to keep the train going. Everton look like a well-oiled machine right now, and West Ham with the likes of Jailings are flying as well right now. So you can't rule anyone out at this stage. But with Liverpool's Anfield form, it is a major concern, and it's beyond the point of a blip. It's more of a disaster at this point.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It's obviously playing Wolves next, and then you've got Arsenal. And I'm looking at the table here, 8th in the league, but Villa behind you have got 2 games in hand. So say you didn't win these next 2 games and Villa did, could be disaster for Liverpool.
Sorry to interrupt you there, but if we're not going to get top 4, I couldn't care if we were to finish 5th or 12th, because I obviously I want to be in Europe, but I don't mind missing out on Europe for a season if it meant for the following season we'd be challenging trying to get back into the Champions League, or if we're lucky enough get back into title contention again. So I don't mind if Jurgen Klopp's going to say, right, top 4 is out of the question now, this is all just about just playing for pride, then I get that. But you can't rule any one of the top 10 out of a top 4 race at this point, because it is all to play for. And the only team that you could say are going to get top 4 are going to get top 4 are the 2 Manchester clubs, and even Man U still have to stay focused despite the fact that they won Derby. And it's hard to see Liverpool getting top four if we're going to keep playing like this. I go into these games now expecting us to lose. Like, as soon as the lineup came out, I was like, it's going to be the exact same. We're going to have chance after chance. They'll go get a lucky one on the break, or we'll make a mistake. They'll go and pounce on it. That'll be game. As soon as it went 1-0, I was sitting there watching the game with my dad, and I just looked to him and I said, game over. Because there was no chance at that point. As soon as Liverpool go 1-0 down, I don't even bother why I keep watching it, because we never get back in the game.
Sounds like Aberdeen.
Pretty much, yeah. Like most Scottish teams have got a better home record this year than Liverpool, and we haven't won at Anfield since that late win against Spurs. And those games against Spurs and Crystal Palace back in December, especially one against Crystal Palace where we battered them 7-0, it gave me so much hope that we were going to go and win number 20. And I think everyone can agree from a neutral standpoint that we were the favourites to win the league at that point, despite our injuries. And even when we drew to like West Brom and Newcastle, like we were thinking, right, every team has a blip. We'll get back to winning ways eventually. Since December 27th, that's it. I think we've won 2-3 league games since then. That is embarrassing. But I don't want to go into full rant mode, because you have to take everything into account, like inconsistency with the forward line. You can't blame the defence. Defence have done what the best they can with what we've got. And I'll talk about Nat Phillips as well. He had a tremendous game against RB Leipzig on Wednesday night, but he needs a good partner next to him, and Kabak is obviously that only partner right now, and he wasn't available against Fulham. We had to start Reece Williams at the back, and Reece Williams he's fresh. He's been thrown into the deep end. It's unfair to criticise these players, because they were probably expecting to no start at all for Liverpool this season. If it wasn't for the injuries to Van Dijk and Gomez and Matip and even Fabinho at stages as well, then these players would be nowhere near the squad. Like, Phillips wasn't even in the Champions League squad before Van Dijk got injured, because the chances of him playing were very low. And I don't know what to think of Liverpool's league form. I'm enjoying us watching us in the Champions League, because if we play like that every game in the Champions League, if we play professionally like we did against Leipzig, I feel confident that we can go all the way. Will we is a different question, but can we? Yes, definitely.
So you've had your rant with Liverpool, and obviously, Luke, you're a Man United fan, but taking off your United tinted specs, looking into Liverpool, how do you assess what's been going on with?
I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh, because it's not a nice situation to be in. But like, first of all, the Champions League, I don't see there being any chance. Like, I feel like if you won the Champions League this season, it would be a bigger upset than when like Chelsea won at that time against Bayern Munich. Honestly, not because you aren't a better team. When you have all your players, you're a better team than that Chelsea squad, but you don't, and you're not firing like really in any competition. We're talking about like one good performance in the Champions League. I just don't see you really getting a good run of games together when you're playing whoever you're playing at centre back like that. Is it Reece? What's his name? Sorry, Reece Williams.
We've been playing Reece Williams recently, but I think the main partnership we're going to stick with, if they stay fit for the rest of the season, will be the Phillips and Kabak partnership.
Yeah. So Williams is the one I've seen the most of. I mean, he is diabolical. I can't lie. Like, he's, at least in that game against United in the FA Cup, like, he was shocking. And Kabak, obviously, come from Schalke, who I think were last in the league or avoid relegation, and then the other guys from the Championship, I believe. So, like, this is the thing as well, because you're talking about Mbappe, and this is the reason why I don't think the funds are there for an Mbappe type of transfer, because I think if you rewind to the January transfer window, I think if the board were ambitious and thought that this season wasn't a total write-off, you would assign like a more, like, we'll just say experienced centre back to be kind to those three, but you didn't. Like, they did kind of go for the cheap option, to be blunt, and I don't mean to be like disrespectful to them, but I mean, maybe any of those three could go into a team when they're playing alongside a more experienced defender like a Van Dijk, or if you brought someone else in.
Yeah.
And obviously maybe don't want to do that because you can't guarantee that person game time down the line, but I think you could, because you've got, obviously it's Gomez and Van Dijk, but the Joe Matip, like, I'd look to get rid of him. I'm not trying to go off topic here, but I think if you brought in a centre back for money, I don't think you would have had the situation where they'd never get another minute on the field when Van Dijk's back, because I think injuries happen anyway, and you need to rotate players, and that for me is the difference between like City and Liverpool. And obviously it is impossible to compete with City financially and the players they have, but they have 2 players for literally every position, and there's no one else in England who have that or can have that. So I think this is just going to be the norm going forward. If any team wins a league other than City, I feel like the next season they're going to have like a mini disaster like Liverpool have had, because no one's got that sort of squad depth. And to win the league, Liverpool would have probably been playing with injuries and stuff last season, sort of little niggles on some of their key players. It's then kind of turned into something worse this season. So I don't know. And on the topic of Mbappe, like Liverpool's such a huge club, but I don't know if you'd want to come anyway at this point. Like with obviously PSG I've never really liked PSG, but they look like they're becoming a real force in Europe. Obviously in the final last season, they knocked out Barca. Now like they're looking more and more impressive every year. So I don't know. I feel like it could be a bit of a rebuilding job for Liverpool, honestly. And obviously they've had injuries and things, but I feel like there's more going on than we maybe think about. Like obviously talk about the injuries and things, but you know, you conceded a good few goals against Villa, I think, in that game with Van Dijk at the back. So I think there's some serious issues there at Liverpool that maybe aren't as obvious and blatant to all of us on the outside. I don't know what Liam thinks about that, but it will be interesting going forward.
You mentioned,
but also just quickly, I want to echo, I don't blame Klopp in the slightest. Like you said, fans who are calling for his head already, I can't understand, honestly. He's turned that club around.
No one is immune to criticism. Klopp does have to take obviously some criticism, but for fans to say it's time for him to go, they're mental. And you mentioned there about our depth and our problem with obviously our problems with injuries and all that. And we'll be talking about this near the end of the season. But I think for Liverpool's summer, they need to sign 3 or 4 players in the summer.
Yeah.
They need to sign a centre back. Whether that's going to be Kabak on a permanent deal or whether that's going to be a highly more experienced centre back, we don't know who. We need a replacement for Wijnaldum. He's most likely off in the summer as well. And we need another midfielder as well, because we need almost like a Jordan Henderson kind of midfielder who's there to do the grunt work almost, and someone who's willing to command. And I love Firmino, right? And I want him to, and I genuinely want him to stay within the squad. He's a positive influence on everyone in that team, and I want him to keep getting opportunities as well. But we need just that goal scoring striker, that ruthless forward who just, his job there is to just score goals. And I think, you know, we mentioned him earlier on, Erling Haaland is who I would love to have at Liverpool.
Yeah, we all want Haaland.
It's a distant dream, obviously. With the whole Mbappe thing, we mentioned Mbappe. The chances of I will be real, the chances of us signing him are very, very low, because Mane and Salah most likely will probably stay this season, beyond this season, because if Liverpool want to sell one of Mane or Salah, they need to replace them with Mbappe, because at the top of my head, I can't name any other wingers in Europe that will go for such a small price, who are young and are willing to come into Liverpool and hit the ground running straight away. The only ones that come to mind are like Mbappe and Sancho, and I'd imagine Sancho is probably going to be off to United in the summer. Because I'd imagine...
You never know, actually. With Sancho, I think is still something that Liverpool should be looking at, yeah.
You never know. Yeah, I would like Liverpool to look at someone like a Sancho, but if I only see Mbappe signing, like I said, if one of Salah or Mane leave. And at this stage, I don't see where Mane or Salah could join, because obviously they're hitting the prime of their career now. They may think this might be their last professional contract, wherever they go. And the only clubs that... What clubs can actually afford these kind of players? Because PSG have got the likes of Neymar and Mbappe right now, and obviously they can't add like another superstar to that rank and have another massive player on massive wages. Barcelona have their problems, obviously, with their owners and the amount of debt they've got. Real Madrid have their problems as well. The only club that you could see these kind of players move to is Bayern Munich, and do Bayern Munich really need these kind of players?
Bayern Munich don't need it.
Nah,
yeah.
they don't.
I think the only team that need that sort of player is maybe a Barca.
Barca need Salah or Mane, but like I just said, sorry to interrupt you there, Luke, but Mane or Salah would be a perfect situation to solve at Barcelona, but Barcelona can't do that without selling probably 20 players, because they're in that much debt, and before they can start splurging £100 million
That's
players
crazy.
again, like Coutinho and Dembele. They're going to have to sell. And it's going to be...
Liam, what about a swap? What about Coutinho for Manny?
That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Coutinho is... Coutinho
No, you wouldn't take that, would you?
Nah. Coutinho,
Unless maybe like 50 million as well.
Coutinho's mojo's been ruined at Barcelona. Honestly, I am sick. I feel sick to my mouth saying that, because Coutinho was one of the best players I've seen Liverpool play live a couple of times, and Coutinho, I got to see his last goal for the club back in December of 2017, and he was just a cut above the rest. And I loved the man. He's one of my favourite players to ever watch. Even back when the likes of Suarez was here and Gerrard, I always loved Coutinho. But Barcelona have ruined him. And
what about Suarez?
At his age, probably he's probably not someone you want to bring in to guarantee you back a league title. But I would like him maybe as like a squad option. I've heard some crazy rumours about Luis Suarez as well, about Luis Suarez going to Rangers because he's shown praise for Steven Gerrard and that he's coming to the tail end of his career. And you know what? It would not surprise me if Suarez done that just for the pure shithousery. But I doubt that'll happen. That was just mental. That's just mental, right?
Because he's doing well. That's why I mentioned him, because he's doing well for Atletico.
Back on topic with Mbappe, like I said, Mbappe will only leave if Liverpool sell. And I don't see any club affording like some Mane and Salah. So the chances of Mbappe signing are low, and the chances of Liverpool getting a forward are low as well, because we'll be the same as every other club. We'll be struggling financially due to the COVID-19 pandemic as well. But I feel like we've gone on about Liverpool long enough, Robbie. Do you think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you both made some really good points about Liverpool, and I think they did need to be addressed. And I think it's a very good point you saying from 10th place up, apart from the Manchester clubs, could make that European spots in top four. But before we move on to games of the week, I just wanted to mention with Fulham's, sorry to rub salt in the wounds, Liam, but with Fulham's win over Liverpool at the weekend, they're now they're still in the bottom three, but they're tied on points with Brighton. So it's not just the top end of the Premier League; it can be interesting. The top four race, who's going to be getting relegated apart from West Brom and Sheffield United is interesting now as well, with Fulham, Brighton, Newcastle, and maybe Burnley all getting sucked into that.
I thought you were about to tell me Liverpool have been sucked into the relegation.
We're clear of that. We've achieved that goal already. We're at 17 points clear of the relegation zone. We're good. Quickly though, lads, who do we see getting that third relegation spot?
If Newcastle are not, if they don't back up the ideas and start scoring goals, especially Callum Wilson being out injured, Yurleton, massive flop, Ryan Fraser, if he was third highest assist a few years ago with Bournemouth behind De Bruyne and Hazard, not doing well. I really worry a big club like Newcastle could do what they've done previously and end up getting relegated. Fulham, I really rate Scott Parker, and I think they will escape. So I think it's going to end up between Newcastle and Brighton. What about you, Luke?
I agree. I do. I think Newcastle are a weird team that I feel like they can just kind of fall apart quickly. And with Scott Parker, I like him too. He's an exciting young manager and knows that club inside out. So I would think Newcastle potentially. Yeah.
I'm going to agree with both of you. I think it's going to be Newcastle as well. Newcastle are like that right now, and Fulham are like that right now. Mm-hmm. And they can, like Fulham prove that the weekend, they can pull off amazing results against good teams. They beat Everton not too long ago as well. They lost to Man City when they probably felt hard done by, and they probably could have got something out of that game. And I rate Scott Parker as well. I rate the team that he's got in his hands as well. I rate their winger Lookman. Obviously, Lamina scored against us. He's a good player. And their defence as well. They got the Man City guy. I don't know how you say his name, Adebayo or something like that. He's a good centre back, and obviously they got a very experienced goalkeeper in Areola. And Newcastle, I said this from minute one. Steve Bruce should have been sacked ages and ages and ages ago. It's the wrong appointment from minute one. Steve Bruce was brought in because he was cheap. Steve Bruce was brought in because he was a Geordie, and the board had no ambition whatsoever. I'm a bit passionate about Newcastle because I do know good Newcastle fans, and I've got a few relatives who are Newcastle fans as well.
I'm the exact same.
And Newcastle are such a... I love Newcastle as a team, and I want to see them back fighting again near the European spots. And when Rafa Benitez left, what Rafa Benitez done with that team was nothing short of a miracle. He got them into a top half finish with what's barely above a mid-table championship team. And to bring in Steve Bruce, what kind of ambition does that show? And when
it summed up Mike Ashley, really, did it?
And as well, and when Rafa Benitez, main problem was he wasn't getting backed financially, but as soon as he left, Steve Bruce was given all sorts of money to bring in the likes of like Joelinton. Obviously, he's been a flop now, but back then you feel like Rafa Benitez would be crying out for a £50 million striker. And likes of St. Maximan as well, who obviously is a good player. And I'm like, why didn't you back the better manager? If you backed Rafa Benitez, if Newcastle backed Rafa Benitez, I would be confident in saying they'd be comfortable in the top half right now, fighting for a European spot. And it's mental.
It's complete mismanagement from the owner, but he obviously doesn't want to be. He's put the club up for sale, done all this stuff, and then he's waited. You think you'd want to back, as you say, back the better manager, back him with money, and see success, not end up down the championship again and have to do it all again, which they've previously done. But before we conclude on this topic, you have got to also mention Brighton. They've not won a game in the last 5 games. Graham Potter's team, they could also be in trouble. I think it will, as I said, it will be a battle between them.
We mentioned Celtic earlier on. I think Graham Potter would be a fantastic manager for Celtic. He's the style of football that would bring a lot of excitement back to Celtic Park. And obviously, I don't think this is a manager problem. I think this is a player fault. I watched Brighton a good few times, and the amount of chances that they miss, game in, game out, is unbelievable. I think there was a game where they missed 2 penalties in one game or something like that, or definitely at least one, and there was another dodgy miss that they had in the game. And it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And Brighton, I think, do need to be careful, but I think they've got just enough quality to survive. Burnley, we mentioned Burnley as well. I say this every single season, that Burnley keep Sean Dyche safe. I rate Sean Dyche as a manager so highly, and he screams of the next England manager in my eyes.
He does. In Burnley, I only mentioned them because they also haven't won in the last 5. But what Burnley do is they do pick up that points as they go along, get 12 draws, I think, this year, and they just consolidate along. And you speak about managers, it's worked wonders. Sean Dyche at Burnley, like the budget they've got, he just works wonders every season to keep them not in like for Sheffield United and West Brom or like it. And as you say, it could be the next England manager. But enough speaking about the Premier League. We'll go on to games of the week to conclude. I'll go with you first, Liam. What is your game of the week?
I'm just going to double check who's the home team for this game, but my game of the week is going to be Monaco versus Lille in the French league, Ligue 1. Obviously, Lille are top of the league right now by 2 points. Monaco are 4th, 4 points off 3rd. So it'll be interesting to see how this game turns out, because if Monaco could win this game, they could see themselves back in a Champions League race. I'm not sure what the whole permutations are with France. I think the top 3 teams get Champions League. And obviously, Monaco will want to be competing again. Back off like a few seasons back where they were getting to the Champions League semi-final. Obviously, that team was unreal. When you look at it now, you look at back in that Monaco team's actually unreal. They had likes of Fabinho, Falcao, Mbappe. Like all these are fantastic players. Like Mbappe and Fabinho, especially at top clubs now. But Lille, you can't rule them out because they're top of the league they seem to be top of the league for a reason. PSG, obviously, thereabouts. I actually think it's going to sound mad here, but the fact that PSG are in a title race could actually benefit them in Europe. Because I always say this, because like when you have a lack of competition in your domestic league, it can almost you can almost take your foot off the gas when you actually do come up against higher opposition. And if PSG PSG now needs to stay focused, and probably till the end of the season to be involved in the Champions League. And I feel like this will give them extra motivation in Europe to go far. But back on topic with the whole Lille-Monaco game, I'm going to go with a Lille win. Off the top of my head, the players I can name, I'm going to go with, like I said, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Lille. I'm going to say a Jonathan David double, and I'm not sure if he's fit, but I'm going to say Ben Yedder will score the goal for Monaco.
Perfect. And for you, Luke?
I'll go with AC Milan against Napoli. So Milan, they're second in the league at the moment in Serie A. They're looking like a very good side this season. Obviously played Man United tonight, and probably the better team, and Man U potentially lucky to get a draw in that game. I think they were outplayed at times. Napoli are always a good side. It seems they're always able to compete with the best teams in Europe on the day. I think they're sixth in the league right now. They are, sixth in the league, 5 points off third. So not disastrous. Kind of similar to the Premier League, where it seems quite tight between those the sort of top six or so. But I think Napoli always seem to show up against anyone, but I won't go against Milan in this one. I'll say 1-0 Milan, and I can't say I've watched a massive amount of Italian football. I'm just going to go with Ibrahimovic. He might not even be fit for the game, but I'll go with Ibra to score the goal for Milan.
Well, we all know Ibra scores lots of goals, so that's a safe one to go with. I'll conclude with my game of the week, and I know we've spoken about them in depth tonight, but I'll go with Manchester United versus West Ham, the late kickoff on Sunday. West Ham, the visitors, have only lost 4 of the last 20 Premier League games, but those games have came against Liverpool, Chelsea, Man City and Man United. So I feel West Ham, that has been the sticking point against the bigger teams. And I feel Manchester United, I know we didn't win in Europe midweek, but after beating City, I think we have got the performances in us, and they'll have that incentive to secure second spot. So I think United will beat West Ham, and I think we'll win 2-0. Actually, I'm quite confident for it.
Can't believe I'm actually about to say this, but I hope you're right.
Yeah. Well, I'll go 2-0, and I'll go Bruno Fernandes and Maguire to score. Fernandes from the spot, Maguire from the corner, and it'll be happy days.
Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that any day.
So
I hope Lingard's not playing, by the way, because he seems like the
I don't think he can play.
I don't think so.
He's unavailable for it, because before we conclude, we'll say that Jesse Lingard has surprised me in terms of he went to West Ham and he has hit the ground running. So it will be a relief for Man United not to see Jesse Lingard, because it's a loan deal. He can't play against him, thankfully.
If Lingard keeps this up, I wouldn't rule him out of even getting involved in the England squad in the summer, because honestly, he has been a revelation for West Ham since he came in January, and you can't rule him out. He
always does well for England as well.
I
think he's got a good record for them. It's just because he wasn't playing consistently that he got taken out of that squad. But I think Southgate would want him in that squad.
Yeah,
definitely. And another reason why I say 2-0, and I think West Ham won't score against the United defence, because they managed to keep out Chelsea and Man City over the last 2 weeks. And ever since conceding 6 to Spurs, I really feel Man United's defence has been a strong point. Yes, some silly goals like Europa League against Milan late on, but most of the time they have been solid. So it's been a pleasure, boys. Thank you very much. And remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel, BSR Sports, and check out our Twitter, BSR Sports 20. So it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me as well.